Okay, so you can see here some of the decorative trim is missing. That is not a problem. It's actually an easy fix. One, you could either just take all this trim off and it would still look really pretty without anything on, because the door and all the legs and the flutedness here it has so much character to begin with. But I sent pictures to the lady how it was, and I want to keep this here. I was thinking about possibly removing it because I am distressing the piece, and if I use it, you can't really distress over that part. So that's just something I have to think about. But I did want to show you guys how I use this molding putty. And it's really easy. It's an amazing product to use to fix any type of missing decorative applique or trim or whatever it is. I've used it so many times on the bottom of these legs here, because sometimes they chip off, the glue dries out and the part of the circle just comes off or it gets lost. And I've had that happen to a lot of buffets that I do purchase, but it is an easy fix. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this mold. So I am going to take it out. Comes in 2 separate containers like this. All right, and then you're just going to take equal amounts and mix them together until they're completely incorporated, and then you're just going to press it along the area that you want to copy. Okay, that's in there pretty good. So I'm going to need, probably not the best thing to use, but it's right near me. I'm just going to use a screwdriver. Let's see how I can get that out. Okay, definitely don't need to use that much. Let's see. I don't know. Nope, that's still a lot, I think. That might be good, because I'm going to use double the amount, because I'm going to use the same amount of this and the same amount of the other container. Okay, so let's put that down. Again, I'm going to just use my screwdriver. Should have probably prepped to have like a little spoon or something, but let's go with the flow. Here we go. Let's see if that's about the same size. Nope, need a little bit more of the gray. Yep, they're about good. So I'm just going to put it together, and I'm going to mush them around and incorporate both products into one. My kids love to do this and help me when I'm doing molds, because it's like Play-Doh to them. And they just can't believe how it hardens into something that I need for the furniture. So they're kind of amazed by it. And I always save my molds in case I ever need it for some reason. I don't know, it's something I just hate throwing out anything. It's kind of like the teacher in me. Most teachers don't like to get rid of a lot of their things. We always think that we're going to use it again or something, but all right, I think that's good enough. So move the camera up a little bit. So this is the spot that I need to make. So I'm going to, let me see how I can do that. You can just take any spot. So let's see, it's about, I don't know, from here to about here. So let's just do from about here to here. Okay. And I'm going to use Durham's wood putty to fill the mold, and I'll show you exactly how I do all that. So right now I'm just going to push it on, just like that. It's fine if it's too big because the Durham's wood putty is very easy to sand away and shape and mold. So right now you just want to make sure that, put it on there gentle. It doesn't have to be so crazy. All right, and I'm gonna let that sit for about 20 minutes. Just want to make sure I get that groove real nice. Okay. I'm gonna let that sit for 20 minutes and then I'll come back to it and I'll take it off. All right, so my timer went off after 20 minutes. I am going to pull off the mold. Trying to be gentle with it. Okay, here we go. And there is the piece. So there you can see is the trim piece that I will fill with the Durham's wood putty. And then that'll dry and I will cut to size here because you can tell, look at how much bigger I made it. But I just wanted to see, just to make sure. Jeez, I made it huge, but that's okay. All right, so before I can put on the cast, which is what you make from the mold, I have to fix this decorative trim here. There was a little pin nail here that was holding up the whole trim, but because it broke off right where the nail is, I had to remove the nail. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some wood glue and use my clamp to hold it up in place. So let me apply my wood glue. And I do have a little pin nailer. It's just it's in the garage, and I want my husband to show me how to use it because he always does all the pin nailing, because usually it's inside cabinet doors when I take the glass out of, like, say, hutches and stuff, and I'm so nervous about shooting the glass that he always does it for me. So I want him to actually show me how to use the battery pin nailer. Okay, so I got enough glue behind there, kind of moving it around on purpose. Okay, so now I'm going to just use my clamp, squeeze a little bit. It looks like it's nice and level now. So I have a lot of things that just need to dry tonight. That's the thing with refinishing furniture, it's the dry time that takes so long sometimes. So you can see, let me move it. There we go. It's nice and level, and then I will use some Durham's wood putty, and I will put it right here in the mold, and then tomorrow I will glue it in place. So I'm going to make the cast, I think it's called the cast now, from the mold, and I'm going to use the Durham's Rock Hard. It's the wood putty. I love this stuff because you can use as much as you want, and it does dry rock hard. It is great for anything, really. It's very good. Again, it's just not stainable, just like Bondo, but that's okay. It's a little more, the smell isn't as bad. I put a lot of water in, so let me put some more. Talking too much. Okay, so let's see. I mix it up, and what's great about it is you can use whatever consistency you want. If you need it more liquidy, like if you're putting, I've used this before when we made a desk for the kids in the playroom, and my husband butted up like boards together, and where the wood met, you can see some little grooves from just the way the wood was, and we were able to make this real liquidy and just pour it over the grooves and sand it down, and it filled it up beautifully. Okay, let me add some more. I do want a little thicker because I am going to be molding it, so I'd rather add more water. If anything, I kind of did it opposite this time because I was talking, not really focusing, but that's okay. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to pour this into and put it into the mold. Now I did make the mold way bigger than I needed it to be, but that's okay because I can sand it down and shape it the way I want. Just want to make sure there's like no air bubbles. Oops. And clean it up as much as you can so it's less work you have to do when it dries. Okay. With Bondo, I always have to wear a mask because it does smell really bad, but this stuff it doesn't smell. Doesn't really have much of an odor. A little bit, but nothing crazy. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry overnight and it'll be ready for me to go tomorrow. I want to recap what we worked on yesterday. Yesterday, I scrubbed the entire buffet so good, about 3 times. I scrubbed it once really well, wiped all the residue with the second wash, and there was still some left in the third cleaning, and I think that did the trick because it looks really good and it feels so much better. It doesn't feel so grimy or anything. So yesterday, what we also did was we fixed some of the lifting veneer with some wood glue. We're going to take the clamps off in a little bit. I was able to make the mold for the decorative trim that's missing right there. I'm going to show you how I install that today. But what my main goal for working on today is Bondo. And I'm going to go over to my yellow cart right over there, and I'm going to show you how to mix up some Bondo. Before I mix up the Bondo, I'm just going to take the clamps off. There's like a little release lever here that you just press, and the clamp comes, all the pressure comes off, and then you can open it up wider. And we're going to look at it, make sure that the glue, yep, it doesn't have that weird sound, like that's a hollow sound or anything, so everything looks really good there. I have a clamp on this to hold up the decorative trim. There was a pin nail right in there, and I didn't want to put a pin nail back because I would have to replace the whole trim here. So I'm just going to use my mold and put it back in the spot there. I'm going to have to really do some sanding and things like that to fit it right in there. So let's see. Yeah, so that looks about it for the repairs. You can take our cast out of the mold. Again, I used the Durhams putty and I put it in there, and this is for the decorative piece here. So I kind of was moving this around a little bit to break the seal a little bit, and here it is. It came out so good. Obviously, it's ginormous compared to what I really needed, but I wanted to make sure I had plenty in case I crack it or anything like that. So I'm going to get it going and taking off some of this trim, all this extra pieces on here that we just don't need. All right, so I kind of measured. Here is the trim piece that we made a mold for. I'm going to cut it about here. I'm going to do it a little bigger than I need to. Let's take off some of this pieces. I'm just going to chip them away. Okay, let me just measure it up. Still pretty big. Okay, I have it about the size I want it. I'm just going to take off just a little bit more. Again, I'm using this nail puller, but it's actually really good for cutting it the way I need it. Okay, so these are all my extra leftover sandpaper for like when I distress and stuff. So I'm just going to use this, do a gentle grit. I think this is a 150. Yeah, 150. And I'm gently just going to smooth it out and get it to the shape I want to make sure it mimics the existing trim that's on there. This Durham's Rock Hard, it's really nice to work with. When it dries, it is very hard. But it's definitely sandable. It is not stainable, so you couldn't put stain over this, but you can prime and paint over it. So that's why I do like it. It's kind of like easy to use, it's fast. Once you put the water in it, because it comes in a powder, you add the water to it, and then it starts to turn and go through the process of hardening. I think if you add a little vinegar to it, it'll stop the hardening process a little bit, so you have more time to play around with it if you needed it to. But read the directions on the container. Always, with any product you use, always read the directions. With every product I use, no matter what it is, if it's a new paint brand I'm doing, and if it's a shellac or whatever I'm going to use, I'm always reading the directions just to make sure the manufacturer always has different guidelines and things like that for different products. So, all right, let me see. So far, that's nice and smooth. I'm going to move the camera over with me and see how it goes on. Okay, it's still a little big. Still got to take some more off. Okay, so now I have the little piece that I did. I have it like a 45 here to go to this corner, and I was able to size it up to get in there. If there's any gapping in between, I could just put some wood putty in between and make it look smooth. So, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use some super glue, and this stuff is incredible. It's called 2P10, and it's like an activator. So when you put like a super glue or something on, and you put it on and then you spray this, it accelerates the curing time of the adhesive, and it works incredible. So I use that a lot for like appliques and things like that, decorative work, trim work. So I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna put some super glue on here. Okay, put that in place. Line it up, make sure it's nice and even. Okay, I like the way that looks. So now I'm gonna take my bottle and slowly, gently squeeze it. Whoops. Just a little bit. I did too much this first time. And it is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry just a little bit more. Let that dry a little bit more, and then I'm going to sand down a little more so it looks seamless. Add some putty right in here, and that will be good to go.